in the vein of business, let's talk about the Industrial Development Corporation, or IDC, that has set up a post-unrest business recovery fund to assist businesses that were impacted by the unrest and looting we saw in July in parts of KwaZulu-Natal and in Gauteng. To tell us all about it, I'm joined this hour on the Midday View by the CEO, that's the big boss himself of the IDC, TP Nchocho. Mr. Nchocho, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday View on eNCA. This fund, 1.5 billion rand recovery fund, what is it made up of?
Good afternoon, Braden, and thank you very much for inviting the IDC to the show. All of us witnessed those events, and government quickly, together with all other state organizations, put together an assistance package. So from our side, we are primarily a financier of businesses and industrial enterprises. So that's where we're coming from. It is about advancing money in various instruments, and we can discuss that, so that these businesses that have been adversely impacted by these unrests can get back on their feet. Really, the primary purpose is that if it is a factory, a manufacturing factory, it should resume production as soon as possible. If it is a retail enterprise, it should resume operations as soon as possible, really with the ultimate aim of keeping the economy going and restoring employment amongst these businesses.
Okay, 1.5 billion. What does it comprise?
Yes, it is made up of three elements, basically. One, it is about 700 million rand, which is in the form of concessionary loans. Concessionary in a sense that the interest rate that will be charged on these loans is 5% fixed. And secondly, concessionary in a sense that we give the borrowers a minimum 12 months in order to get back on their feet before they start repaying us. So a repayment moratorium. And so the second element of this is that we have allocated some of this money in the form of pure grants that we advance to businesses, particularly those are very hard hit, completely disrupted in terms of their operations, and employees have been prejudiced in the sense that they are not able to earn wages and so on and so on. And then, of course, there is another amount over and above the 1.5 billion rand of about 400 million that we administer on behalf of the Department of Trade and Industry. It's an allocation which carries also an interest rate of 2%. So the crux of this package really is to make it as concessionary as possible, make it as easily accessible as possible, but with breathing space so that businesses can get back on their feet.
Okay, we'll talk just now very briefly, shortly about, how is this fund progressing? Are you receiving applications? Who's applying? How much are you already disbursing? But one of the issues, I know that you are a development finance institution as the IDC, but one of the biggest challenges that we saw was the infrastructure. I mean, we had schools being burnt in KwaZulu-Natal, for example, and also other types of social infrastructure in Gauteng. Does any amount, did you decide that maybe as an IDC, as a finance development institution, you could assist in that area?
As far as infrastructure is concerned, there is a special allocation that has been made available by the Department of Trade and Industry. I think the funds were allocated from the National Treasury. In the township areas, we have gone out of our way to depart a little bit, Braden, from our normal mandate. Whereas in the normal course of events, the IDC at the moment primarily focuses on large enterprises, manufacturing enterprises, and so on, in logistics, energy, and mining, and so on. But we have funds specifically allocated for the rejuvenation of small township businesses. For instance, in the property sector, it could be that corner small shopping center at the corner which has a butchery and a supermarket and a hair salon, which was impacted. And then what we are doing is that we are working with partners on the ground in order to address those. But the bulk infrastructure is really in the form of large scale infrastructure, roads and electrical reticulation systems. Those are catered for in a separate infrastructure fund.
Okay. Ntate Nchocho, in the time that we have now left, I understand that the IDC, you've launched this particular fund about a month ago. I'm sure you've received a lot of applications. I mean, everybody who's affected, you know, small, medium-sized businesses, entrepreneurs in those parts of the world that were affected, of our country that were affected, would welcome that. How is that going? Have you received a deluge of applicants, and are you satisfying the demand?
We received quite a lot of applications. At the moment, they are beginning to taper down because the focus has largely been on KZN and Gauteng. And also, the other issue that we should remember is that some of the businesses that are affected do have insurance coverage from their insurers, so probably they are handling their claims in that regard. But by way of progress, as of today, this morning, we have approved over 600 million of that 1.5 billion. So we are sort of more or less halfway there. And we are in the processes of concluding the agreements. Already close to 200 million, a third of that amount approved, has already been paid out. We meet every day as the management team and we progress these transactions as rapidly as we can. Based on the lessons that we know that Dr. Braden, in post-conflict situations, you need money to flow rapidly on a concessionary basis and to reach the beneficiaries as soon as possible. So over 600 million up to now and going strong. The applications are beginning to taper down a little bit, but as people begin to reassess their situations, I'm sure we will continue to get applications.
Yeah, and one of those beneficiaries of this process that you're doing, I'm sure, is jobs, because those companies, those businesses and those operations were employing people, and when they get that quick funding from the IDC, it assists in saving jobs. Am I wrong?
That's the crux of it all, Braden. It's about restoring employment, because remember, those who evaluate these unrest situations from a social and political perspective have also commented to say, you know, the people who are largely deprived and so on have been much more vulnerable in terms of being activated to maybe commit acts of crime that they would ordinarily not engage in. So the social risk that goes with unemployment is what we, in the ultimate, all of us as a nation have to be working towards. So it is about getting those businesses back on their feet so that those who work there can wake up in the morning like all of us and go to work to earn a living and to support their families. So that is the ultimate aim. We, on the approvals that we have done up to now, we're probably going to claw back close to 15,000 jobs in these areas, our estimates.
That sounds very good. You are halfway there, you said, as we conclude, about 600 million already approved of that 1.5 billion. There's a way to go. And people can still contact the IDC to talk about getting assistance in this recovery plan. You still encourage them, very briefly, to contact you?
We still encourage people to do so. We have on our website entry points. We have our regional offices that are based in Gauteng as well as in KZN, but any other of the offices in all the provinces.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll have to leave you there. That's the Chief Executive Officer of the IDC, the Industrial Development Corporation, TP Nchocho. Thank you very much for your time there. Well, let's bring you this story now.